Hello. How are you? Give me a hug.
Aw.
Hugs. Hi, guys.
Good. Hello.
Hi, nice to see you here. Welcome to be our guest. So today I have an amazing Elisa Lupi with me and my, it's almost coffee,
Yeah.
but it's a water.
Turned into coffee any moment.
Yes, because Elisa is, she's an international student here in BSSM,
Yes.
but I met her a year ago, yeah?
Yeah.
And right away we felt connected, and I know that God were doing something in her life, but also in my life. So she is my Italian friend,
Yes.
and I don't know how come we have no coffee.
Right.
Do you want to say hi in Italian?
Ciao. Ciao tutti.
Yes, whatever she said. I like how it sounds.
It sounds beautiful. It's the best language.
Yes, it is. One day I'll speak Italian.
Yes.
And
Yes.
probably in heaven they will speak Italian too.
I agree.
Yeah.
And eat Italian food.
Yes, and she is the best in making amazing pizza. Even in Reading, you can find the ingredients
Yes.
to
Yes,
make
you can.
authentic
Yes.
Italian pizza.
Yes, you can. There's no excuse for bad pizza.
Yeah, so this conversation was inspired by many walks and talks and drive around the beautiful Reading and California. So, and I felt like Elisa has something so amazing to share with you guys, and she impacted my life in a big way. So I really appreciate our connection, and I really appreciate what you carry. That you are such humble, yet you are so wise. Not by your age. So what we find out that she was doing the SSM first year with Inessa, yeah?
Yes.
Many years ago.
Many years ago.
And then she decided to come back when we moved. So thank Jesus for that.
Yes. Right timing.
So I'm gonna do a couple, I'll ask you a couple questions. And I just wanna to get to know you a little better, but also I want people to hear what is your generation, because you are between 20 and 30, yeah? You're not 30 yet, so you're in that time, in that frame where a lot of people my age, maybe older, in 40s and older, they're blaming and shaming you guys for a lot of things. And I think they don't see the beauty that you carry and the perseverance and what you overcame. So I really want to hear your voice and what your generation are facing and how you overcoming, and maybe what you are, guys needed from us to make your life easy, not harder. Not to blame and shame, but to come along. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is all raw and real. There is no practice between.
No. I had no idea where this was going, and I love it. This is so stunning. Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to ask you to share a little bit. As I said, you have Italian blood in you, but you also have Venezuelan blood in you. Wow, such a two amazing different nations.
Yes.
In one little body.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, how has your childhood impacted you of who you are today? Is there any, like, if you look back and you look at your childhood and you would say like, oh, I am who I am today because obviously there was some challenges, but there was probably some fun moments too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was definitely the mix of cultures is very much who I am. I am very much Italian, very much Venezuelan, and also a mix of the places that I've been, because I haven't necessarily had one place to call home, but I've been kind of jumping around in different countries. And so I've gotten a little bit of those also embedded into who I am. But I would say my childhood growing up with those cultures was very like passionate, obviously on both sides. Italian and Venezuelan culture are both very passionate, very family oriented, very much unafraid to express ourselves, whether that's like in good ways and when there's joy, and also when there's like pain or anger, we're so quick to kind of have like a argument or grew up in that kind of scenario. And I think also something that really impacted me from my childhood was growing up living in Venezuela and being a highly political country. That was probably one of the things that also changed the way I see things and my heart for justice in a way. So I would say family, connection, 100%. Growing up, being around a table was always the place to be. My dad is a chef, so Italian and a chef.
So who's Italian, mom or dad?
Dad. So dad is Italian, mom's Venezuelan, and he moved from Rome. They both moved from Rome, came to Venezuela, started restaurants.
Mm.
So I grew up around a table. I think I would say all of the things that I know about life I learned from people who were older than me, because I was an only child, and my parents, when they had me, they were already like older, and all of their friends, I would be just sitting around with them at like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and I would hear these conversations. And so I think I learned so much from the previous generation, and I have so much value for what you've paved, like along the way, and so I am very thankful. I think that's influenced my life for sure.
Thank you. I love how you mention something, couple times you mentioned table. And how sitting around the table, which actually I feel like right now it's getting dismissed in a lot of families, and especially like I know even new houses are being built without kitchen table or without dining room place where it used to be. So because it's like just a countertop, high chairs, and
That's
eating on the go.
Wow.
So what's the difference when you can tell me, like, sitting around the table, what makes you feel?
That's good.
As a child or as an adult, what are you feeling sitting around the table?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for me it's a time to slow down. Like, I knew when I was going to have lunch with my parents or dinner, I knew it was never going to be a quick thing.
Okay.
I knew in my mind, I was like, this is going to take hours. And I think I've grown up. That's a really good question, because I've never thought about it. But I think it's a force to like kind of stop and just, it's time for like sharing. It's never about like individual moments of reflection. It's more like, let's have a conversation. And I think the things that get brought up are always onto something good around the table. So I feel very much home, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So it wasn't, did you hear that? It wasn't a 30 minutes lunch or dinner,
never,
quick.
Never.
So it would be a time. So what did you do? You share, like, everybody share about their day, or it was just some arguments too, laughter?
Yes. Absolutely.
Fighting?
Absolutely. And it's funny, people
Good
say
wine.
like, good food, obviously, first and foremost, that is the most important thing, that you have good
Yes.
food in your table. But basically I think for me, there was never a structure to our lunches or dinners. It was always kind of what was going on in the moment. And so my parents would discuss a lot of what was going on, like in their work and things like that. But then we would also share like our opinions on the news and what was going on. Even if it was like heavy topics, it was never really heavy when we were discussing it around the table. Somehow. We would even talk politics. I know people say don't talk politics on the table, but I'm like, it's such a place to be authentic and real, and not everything has to lead onto a breaking or a rupture in relationship. I think there's some conversations that can be had, and we can still know that we're like family and we're eating together. And so I think that's something with the Italian side of like never being afraid of arguments, because it's also sometimes onto connection.
Yes, that's good.
Yeah, and so we would share stories, share our thoughts, what was going on in our day, just ask each other questions and spend time together.
That's really good. I really have leading me to the question. Were you allowed to sit with your devices, like phone, tablet, as you're eating and watching something?
Never. I am 27 years old, and my dad's still like, no phones, like don't. And I'm like, Dad, I have to answer like this work thing. He's like, no, stop. So definitely never a thing where you could just check out. You had to actually be present and
I think it's a beautiful thing, even though it is, we're so used to disconnect.
Yeah.
We kind of, sometimes we're sitting around the table, but we are not fully present. And when you don't have any devices and you can fully hear each other's heart, and as you said, that even arguing in a good way, because that's where you're debating, where you're sharing your opinion, I share my opinion, and we can agree and disagree, but at the same time, we love each other.
Yeah. And
we'll leave this conversation knowing that both of us, I feel like you heard me and I heard you.
Yeah, totally.
So that's the beauty. Wow, I love, you mentioned something as you were saying, that growing up in Venezuela, and it's a very high political country, and I don't think the life is there is very easy.
No.
But you said that because of that you have a passion. Can you tell me what is your passion? What are you passionate for?
Good question and really hard. But I think I'm passionate about seeing the kingdom in everything that it is, like justice and righteousness and joy and the Holy Spirit. So I think those are probably my passions. They all stem from kingdom, and so I know kingdom is family, so I'm passionate about family. I know kingdom is like righteousness and justice, so I, in a heavenly perspective, not in the way that we've been having maybe conversations around justice lately, but actually what is the heart of God for people, for everyone, and especially people who are vulnerable. And so I would say I'm passionate about that, and then I'm passionate about people and cultures and fun and food and good things in life, I would say.
Food, that's a good one.
So we connect over that a lot constantly, and we love that.
So what I love, and I was very surprised and amazed at the same time, that last year you were a second year student, in Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, and you also were a student somewhere else full time, and you were present second year full time on campus student. And then you were working, and then you were online taking another school full time. So, and how come you were not overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, and all of that? Can you share what other school you're doing?
Yes.
And right now you're doing a third year, but can you tell me a little bit more about your another school and the work that you did?
Yes, that last year was crazy in many ways, but it was beautiful. And I took many gap years, like 7 gap years between first and second year in BSSN. And in the meantime, I was working for an organization called A21, which is an organization that fights against human trafficking. And so I worked with them for 7 years and was
talking
highly
about
involved.
Justice.
Yes, justice. And then I was also studying. I'm currently a student of University of London and London School of Economics.
Wow.
And I am studying international relations and kind of politics in the international scene. And I think I relied a lot on grace, and I knew my season. I knew coming into second year, when I felt the pull to come back to Reading, and when God was like, this is like what it looks like the next year or two, I decided to grab a hold of grace. I was like, okay, if this is what you're saying, then I'm gonna take it with this, because at that moment I didn't feel like, oh, I need to stop studying or I need to stop working. I was working remotely, so I was able to, and I just came here and I was like, okay, God, these are the two things that I'm doing that already feel like a lot, and then I'm gonna add another school in person that comes with so much, because it's very time consuming. It's wonderful, but it's so time consuming, and then you have relationships that you're building and friendships and so a social life. And somehow I was able to do it well, because there's something that Bill Johnson says that he always mentions, and I have it every time I'm studying. I have it in my notebook, and he says there's always a measure of grace available in every season if you choose to take it. And I remind myself of that, and I'm like, okay, I'm choosing to take the grace that's available. And I was able to do everything literally last year. And then
yes, you did mission trip.
Yeah.
And how did you do at School of Economics in London?
I relied on grace, and I love studying.
Really good.
Yeah. And so I'm still.
And you have exams coming up soon
I
too.
I do. Very
How
soon.
many? Like when you graduating?
I'm graduating November this year. So
and you're graduating BSSM
May this year. So
in a month. So this year is the year of
of
done with the
finishing
school.
things.
Yes. Wow.
It is the year of finishing things. Yeah.
And this is incredible, and this is what I want to take from what Elisa is sharing, that we have grace is available for us, and we choose what we focus on busyness, overwhelm. There's so much feeling bad for ourselves, because when I met her and we went for lunch, we went one time, we drove to the beach, which I never heard from you ever once, saying how overwhelmed you are and how hard it is. Like hearing her sharing the story about having 2 full-time schools plus work, it's already feeling, but you really had a grace,
Yeah.
and you really managed and navigated so beautifully, and you build a relationship here.
Yeah.
You keep because relationship takes time
Yeah.
and investment.
Yeah.
And I think from this, what I want to take and kind of like draw the point that when we're in the right place in the right time, there is grace, and we have a choice to focus on what is available for us or how we feel about ourselves, and just to draw more attention
Yeah.
with, kind of like, oh, I'm so busy. I never heard from you that you're busy.
No, I don't like that.
But
Yeah.
that's amazing. And this is something like, if you feel overwhelmed, just turn to grace and ask Holy Spirit. Maybe you're doing something that there is no grace for it, and maybe you're doing something that didn't ask you to do, because this year you're not working anymore.
Yes.
So he encouraged her to drop something, even though she liked what she was doing.
Yeah.
And if I hear all of you were saying that you're passionate about justice, you work in that area.
Yeah.
You are studying right now in this area, and you came to study and bring kingdom, how to bring kingdom in all of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Just incredible.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see where you're going to take that and do with that. Wow. And I know you're very humble, but you're very wise. So you share something that what are you doing in Spain with the A21?
Yes.
Something that you created that God gave it to you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to share about
absolutely. I created a resource basically for teenagers that talks about online sexual exploitation and grooming. And it came out of a part of my job at A21 was doing presentations in schools and going and teaching children about human trafficking to prevent that they would ever fall into something similar or into human trafficking itself. We actually even found cases of human trafficking in this, in doing presentations. We actually came across signs of trafficking and children who are highly vulnerable in a country like Spain. So it wasn't only that, but actually also raising awareness amongst them so that they would never actually allow for that to happen in their society, that they would actually advocate and fight against an injustice like this. Which
we're talking about trafficking in online too.
Yeah, online too. So just as the world adapts to online world, like to online environments, trafficking also has done that. So they are very like trafficking networks are very intelligent in the way that they operate. And so the one thing that is now so key is the access that we have to the online world. Even children who are like 11, 9 years old, a lot of their time is spent online, even more so after COVID. And so the access that they have to something that they don't always know how to manage or have the tools how to manage or the teaching, they will fall into conversations or people asking them for things that they don't know that they can actually say no. They don't know where the line is, or they would feel there's no concept of stranger in the internet anymore. So stranger danger doesn't really apply, because you can actually meet anyone online and feel like you know them. Like we could have met on a Zoom meeting and we could have become friends. So there's not such a concept anymore. So now it's not like, oh, if somebody calls you on the street, don't take their candy. Like that warning is kind of out of context now, because
with the online.
Because everyone has access to everyone, and so children were in this environment having no tools, no ways to recognize that, like, where's the danger, what is actually kind of making me feel uncomfortable, because they're maybe not asked those questions at home. And so I was finding out in those presentations that children would come up to me, and boys that were 11 years old would tell me, I was playing Fortnite and this person texted me, like talked to me on the chat about this app where I could send them pictures of my body, and I didn't know that would happen. And so I did it. I didn't know that he could actually send it to my friends if I didn't comply. And so it was this signs of like, oh, this is actually happening a lot. And I would even ask the question amongst classrooms, and 80% of the children would raise their hands when I asked them if they've ever been approached by someone they didn't know asking for a photo of them naked online. So I was finding out this like reality, and my alarms were going off all the time. Like, there needs to be a resource, like they need to be talking about this. And actually with A21 and the National Police of Spain, I got to work on this resource and develop it, and it was a God idea. Like, I literally, as I was having a meeting and saying, there's this thing where we need to do something about it, and I had this picture in my mind of a brochure that looked like a phone. Wow. That children would actually be interested in grabbing because it looks fun and it looks nice in a way, and it's kind of catching their attention.
Yeah.
And I developed that resource that equips children to know, and it gives them, it's a very quick thing, but it gives them tips to recognize and then what to do.
Okay, yeah.
And that it's not okay. And when you feel uncomfortable, there's actually something that you can do about it. You don't have to like push and just to see what happens. You know, you can actually stop it. And this is how you recognize it, which is really important. And that resource has been distributed. A million of them have been distributed in Spain in the last
They actually
year and a
print it
half.
out. And
Yeah, the police. It has the stamp of the National Police, which is incredible because it's such an endorsement to work with the main police, like the only police force in all of the country. And so they are distributing it in every province in Spain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know how, like, is there any other languages that it's translated?
Yeah,
If
it's
people
been-
need, I will attach that link
Yeah.
for them to see.
Yeah, there we have guides. I don't know exactly. Maybe I know more than 3 languages already have it in their countries, and then it's available in English. A guide that's a version of that resource that I created, just for online safety.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so, and this is, I hope you heard what Elise said, that the key here is that education. Like, we need to, as a parents, we need to be in the front line to educate our kids and not being afraid. But first of all, we can't be afraid because like everybody else and their mama and their father chasing after our kids online.
Yeah, sure.
When they're sitting and playing just innocent game, they can have access through the games or through something else.
Absolutely.
And as you were saying that there is such a, like, there is no boundaries when you're online. If you talk to someone once or twice, you already feel like a friend.
Yeah.
I remember my son, he's like, oh, it's just a friend. I'm like, how much you know about that guy or that girl? Like, is that a friend or is just somebody? Those lines are raised.
Yeah.
And as parents, we need to bring awareness and actually know what they're doing and who they're talking to.
Yeah.
Because if we're too busy, somebody's chasing after your kids.
Absolutely.
And there is a world who's waiting for those victims. So I'm so proud of you. Look at you. Wow. And look, it's just the beginning. And I love what Elise said, that God dropped the picture to her. And what it's gonna look like. Did you know how to create all of that?
No, I did not. I had no idea about
So
Photoshop
you are
and
not
design.
like a creator, designer, or anything?
Never had done it. And then I just tutorialed my way into creating this resource, and it actually looks really great, and it's been really successful in that.
This is good. So the key is, you don't need to be equipped.
No.
But you need to be connected to the one who is equipped.
Come on.
Because when you connected to him, he can give you idea, but also he can provide everything for that idea to come forth.
Yes, that's really
so
good.
This is so good.
That is a good word.
Yeah, it is a good word. To see what God was doing. Wow, this is such an example for us. Anywhere, I feel like right now, what I feel like the Lord saying, if you see the issue and you're passionate about this issue, ask the Lord for the solution. Because if you see that and it's bothering you in a good way, or you feel injustice, it's mean that he put inside of you the solution.
Yes.
And instead of going and protesting about that, pause and ask the Lord, what is inside of me, how I can solve this problem. And it starts simple. Okay, question.
Beautiful.
When you came first time and you present that you have this, did they accept it right away and said,
No,
yes,
they
we
didn't.
want it?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it took actually, it was such a God thing. That's the thing. It's true. You connect with the heart of God over something, or you realize you've been connecting with the heart of God over something. And then he makes a way, and this was so in my heart, and I knew it was in God's heart. So I knew it'd come the time. And what's funny is I had this previous conversation of saying to this department, hey, there's a big need with that, and they were like, well, we don't see that need that much. We actually don't agree that that's the biggest need that children have right now. And I was like, okay. And this was November. I still started. So I started creating
Even though they said we don't need that.
Even though they said we don't need it. And I just had such a clear picture in my mind, and I started doing it. And for 2.5 months, I just tried to make it better. I got feedback from teenagers that I knew. I got feedback from my colleagues, all these things. And then when actually March came around, COVID came, this is 2020, cases of internet basically exploitation, like grooming and sextortion and all these different things skyrocketed in Spain. There were so many reports, there wasn't even a place to put them. Like nobody knew what to do. But this department within the police had this conversation with us, and they were the ones to call us and be like, actually, we need what you guys talked about. We realized it's a big need. And so, yeah, we launched it in the middle of COVID, and it got to so many families online that just needed help.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And another key here, you went and you present the idea. You felt it was from the Lord, and you got no.
Yeah.
We don't need it. You didn't turn around. First of all, you didn't prove them anything.
Yeah.
Second of all, you didn't turn around and flash it, said, oh, okay, whatever, I just my imagination, it's not the Lord. I'm just going to turn around and do something what they want. You just felt the pull from the Lord.
Yeah.
And you just went and you just doing it anyway because you knew that the Lord was. And this is another key.
Yeah.
So if the Lord is telling you, even when nobody watching and nobody is asking for it.
Yeah.
When the time came, you were prepared your horses.
Totally.
And they imagine if you would do nothing and they come to you and take another 6 months to prepare or whatever.
Literally.
And everything was ready. Wow. So listen to his voice and to his pull, and don't look for the natural circumstances to tell you or celebrate you.
Yeah.
Because we live in a culture that everybody likes to be celebrated and being on the stage. And there's not a lot of people who like to do what David did in the field when nobody was watching.
Yeah.
He was conquering those giants before he came to the stage.
Yeah.
Wow, you're so incredible. I'm just so honored to, and so proud of you of what you're doing. And it's just the beginning. And definitely know and sense that the Venezuela is going to be different when you go back.
Yes.
And whatever country you go back, it's gonna be, you're gonna have a big impact. I want to ask you, maybe for them, what you would recommend someone who wants to grow in community, what to do, how, because you came from two different cultures and so community oriented, where to start? Somebody said like, I wish I would have community, or I wish, what would be your advice?
That's a beautiful question. I think community is so key. Like there's very few things that you can do on your own. Very few. Even if you think you can, you really can't.
Yeah.
Because I understand independence. I've been independent and I like being on my own too. But what I've grown, what I've discovered, what I have, like the treasures that I've had, honestly, most of it comes from people. Like those are my gifts. Those are my treasures. Like having you in my life, having Inessa, like having this family. My friends, my relationship, like my boyfriend, those are my parents. Gosh, those are the treasures of my life. And so I think it's hard to come up with a practical advice, but I think your heart has to be set on the fact that there's a lot to discover of Jesus in people. And it comes at a cost. I think I would say, to me, community has to cost you something. It has to cost you vulnerability.
Yeah.
It has to cost you bringing people in when you actually would prefer to deal with it on your own. It costs you asking for advice when you think you know. And it costs you time and effort. And I think it's like resolving in your heart, like, oh, I'm willing to let people in, not just to what I want them to see. I want to let them in into who I am. And you'll discover, like, being, for example, even here, like, I discover things about myself that I wouldn't think because I'm not asking myself those questions. And so when you pull it out of me, I'm like, oh, that's actually really good. But that wouldn't happen if I didn't have people who are pulling the good things out of me, and they're actually also pointing out, oh, this is actually not great. Why don't you work on this, you know? And we've had those conversations, and it's just been like such a defining thing. So I would say, if you want to grow in community, make that kind of heart posture your thing, where you say, oh, I will put in the work, and then just find people who are hungry. Like I am so captivated by the stories and I don't know, people who are those Davids in the field, like
Yeah.
that are not looking for attention, not necessarily on big platforms, but actually just, not that there's anything wrong. We need those people and we
Yeah.
need the platforms because God needs to,
Yeah. Yeah.
like that message needs to come across somehow. It can't just stay hidden between the kind of the Jedi Order and
But there is different seasons.
But there's
seasons for
Yeah.
field, season for the platform,
Yeah.
season for.
But I would say don't just look for the person that's the main voice in the room. Just look for the treasures that God has and whoever He highlights, and don't also at the same time don't be intimidated by the people who are highlighted, even if they are in platforms. So I just think see people for who they are. They are sons and daughters of God, and there's nothing about their places of influence or the lack of thereof that changes the fact that they're actual like treasures and they're sons and daughters. And so there's no, I really just have that heart of there's no such a thing as like a difference between each other. Like we're all children and we all need to learn and we all have wonderful things inside. So yeah, those two things I would say.
It's good. Now I also feel like community, it's an investment.
Yeah.
To build a community, to find people who is like-minded or who have the same passion for Jesus, but maybe they have a different gift mix. That's when the pull happen.
Mm-hmm.
When I have something, you have something that I admire in you, the gift mix that I don't have, and instead of running away, I pull you in so that we can learn. Excuse me. Doesn't matter how old you are.
Yes.
You can learn from the younger, and you can actually, it's like an exchange. It's divine exchange where we can share and you can share, and we grow together. I think till the end, till we transition.
Yes.
And see Jesus face to face. I think even then we're gonna continue to grow in awe of who He is.
Yes. That's beautiful.
So that's good.
That's
so
beautiful.
I have one more.
Yes.
The last one. So it's my favorite question. If you could create one law, what it would be? Let's say that you have a country.
Wow.
Which probably you will create a lot of laws in the future.
Wow.
What would be the law that you would create?
Wow.
For the whole country that everybody needs to follow?
Wow, that is a good question. Wow. Oh, that's interesting. I have a funny relationship with laws because I think you can't. There's a thing where people need to choose good. So I wouldn't necessarily create a law for good because I'd rather people choose good. I would say, I think my laws would be around family, like around having something that you protect. So the one thing that I would protect the most would be family. So maybe I would make a law that you're supposed to meet with your family, that you're supposed to sit around a table, and there's no evading like time together. If I could have a country, that would be the main law, that families need to sit down and stop and sit and talk. And, yeah,
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
you can see your core values. And importance of the family union, and because everything happened in family.
Yeah.
Family impacted us the most. Wow, that's a good one. Okay, I said it's gonna be the last one. What is the best advice you ever received in your life?
Wow. Oh my goodness, these questions are beautiful.
And maybe what is the best and worst? Whatever comes
and the worst.
first. If you remember.
That's right. That's true. Because then you can realize what the best is. Oh, that's really good. I have received very good advice in my life. Gosh, from incredible people.
Just one that maybe came. I know there's a lot of good things, and you were surrounding yourself with a lot of good people. Just
people.
One thing that it would be like, ooh.
I would say right now what comes to mind, because maybe I'm experiencing it the most, is there's a couple here that does courses on like relationships and connection, and they have said something like, when you, when you can take the position of a judge, or you can take the position of a scientist when it comes to your own thoughts and emotions. And so you can start feeling a certain emotion because of something that happened, and you can instantly become a judge and blame yourself for feeling that emotion for the other person and what they caused. You can judge the situation, you can feel terrible about it. Or you can actually become a scientist, and what scientists do, they look at the facts and then they play around and they try to explore the surroundings, and they get curious instead of just judging the thing. And there's no sentencing, there's actually just curiosity. And so that's been amazing advice for me to, in this season, deal with my emotions. And instead of putting myself or other people in a place of like judgment, I am trying, it's not always easy, to actually become curious. And instead of judging, even when it comes to external things that happen, I instead of judging my own response, I get curious about my response. And I'm like, oh, interesting, I am reacting this way to this situation. Oh, why am I reacting that way? What is going on inside of me? Where is this coming from? And not with blame, just actually curiosity. And it leads you to like love. And actually loving yourself in that process and giving yourself compassion, and you get to do that for other people too. And so I think that's really been amazing advice that I've been applying lately. It's like, become a scientist, not a judge, because I have a very strong moral right and wrong compass, and so it actually helps me a lot to get curious and ask questions instead of draw a conclusion right away.
Stay curious.
Stay curious,
because this is so key. As I'm passionate about equipping people and dealing with their past trauma, emotions, and any emotion is just the indicator that information from your heart, that something is happening. And stay curious instead of shutting it down or trying to okay, you can't feel this way. That's not true.
Exactly.
Your heart feels whatever it wants. So staying curious, it's a key. I love that. And did anything like the worst came to your mind, or no? Or you like flushing the worst, not keeping them?
I think the worst advice right now, considering that situation, is like always have a position. So I've been told like, oh no, you need to talk about everything, every single thing, or don't talk about anything. That's hard. So whenever I've received those type of advices, I've actually really struggled, because I don't think you can do one or the other. Like, you have to navigate with Holy Spirit. And so in relationships, I think you can actually tune into the Holy Spirit and also get those like insights and help. And there are things that are worth talking about, and there are actually things that are not necessary. Like you get more curious about your own response than the actual thing that happened. And so not everything needs to be addressed, but at the same time, please don't stop addressing everything, because that's really not helpful.
That's a really good one. Thank you, Elise. It was a really fun conversation, and deep and delicious, like Italian food.
Yes.
And I'm so honored that you came, and I love you, and I can't wait to see where God is leading you. And I'm pretty sure that even if you leave Reading, we're still gonna stay connected, and we'll keep posting some interview, but it's not gonna be around this table.
Yes, it'll be around some other table somewhere.
Yes. So blessings, and if you like this interview and you feel like somebody who need to hear that, especially, I will attach all the information and that what Elise did, just for us to be equipped. So we love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Yeah.